The market was crowded that Saturday morning. I stood behind my boss, carrying his bags like I always did. 8 months pregnant. Exhausted. Invisible. Alexander Kane was examining expensive imported cheeses when I saw them. Fresh strawberries. Bright red. Perfect. My baby had been kicking all morning and I knew. I knew those strawberries were what we both needed. I opened my mouth. The words came out small. Quiet. Sir, may I please have one strawberry? Just one. Alexander turned. Stared at me. His face went white. His mouth opened. No sound came out. For the first time in 5 years of working for him, Alexander Kane, the ruthless billionaire who destroyed companies before breakfast, was utterly speechless. What I didn't know was that my simple request would expose a secret that would shatter his carefully built empire, save my life, and prove that sometimes the smallest acts of courage create the biggest transformations. Before we begin, subscribe to this channel if stories about unexpected humanity, courage, and redemption move your heart. Like this video and share your thoughts in the comments. Your support spreads these stories to people who need them most. Now let's begin. My name is Claire Novak, and I've been invisible for 5 years. At 26, I was 8 months pregnant, working as a personal maid for Alexander Kane, the most ruthless businessman in New York. No husband. No family. Just me, my baby, and a job that barely paid enough to survive. Alexander Kane wasn't just wealthy. He was legendary. Built a tech empire worth $12 billion by destroying every competitor in his path. Fired employees for being 1 minute late. Sued business partners into bankruptcy. The newspapers called him heartless. They were right. I'd worked in his penthouse for 5 years. He'd never once asked my name. Never looked at me directly. I was just the maid. The invisible woman who cleaned his mansion, cooked his meals, and disappeared when he entered the room. Until the day I asked for a strawberry. The day everything changed. That Saturday morning started like any other. Alexander had meetings all weekend. Important people coming to his penthouse. Everything had to be perfect. Claire, his assistant, Juliana, called me at 6 in the morning. Mr. Kane needs fresh supplies from the market. He's going personally. You'll accompany him. My heart sank. Going to the market with Alexander meant hours of carrying heavy bags while he inspected every item like he was buying diamonds instead of vegetables. I'll be ready, I said, my hand on my swollen belly. My baby kicked hard. Uncomfortable. Restless. We'd both been craving fresh fruit for days. But fruit wasn't in my budget. I spent every penny on rent and saving for the baby's arrival. At 7 sharp, Alexander's driver pulled up. Alexander sat in the back, reviewing documents on his tablet. I climbed in, sitting as far away as possible. He didn't acknowledge me. Never did. We drove to the exclusive market where billionaires shopped. Everything here cost 10 times normal prices. But quality was everything to Alexander Kane. The market was beautiful. Organic everything. Vendors in clean white uniforms. Classical music playing softly. Alexander moved through the stalls like a king inspecting his kingdom. These tomatoes are acceptable, he said to the vendor. Not good. Not excellent. Acceptable. I followed behind, carrying bags that grew heavier with each purchase. My back ached. My feet swelled. The baby kicked constantly. Then we passed the fruit section. That's when I saw them. Fresh strawberries. Locally grown. Bright red with little green tops. Perfect. My mouth watered. My baby kicked so hard I gasped. Alexander was examining expensive Italian cheeses, discussing aging processes with the vendor. I stood there, staring at those strawberries. $5 for a small container. $5 I didn't have. $5 that meant nothing to the man who spent $300 on cheese. Before I could stop myself, the words came out. Sir? Alexander didn't turn. May I please have one strawberry? Just one. The world stopped. Alexander Kane turned slowly. His face was pale. His eyes wide. He stared at me like he'd never seen me before. His mouth opened. Opened again. No words came out. The vendor looked confused. Other shoppers turned to stare. Sir? I said again, quieter. Are you all right? Alexander's hands trembled. He dropped the cheese he was holding. It hit the ground with a soft thud. What did you say? His voice came out strange. Choked. I just asked if I could have one strawberry. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have. Stop. Alexander held up his hand. His whole body was shaking now. You asked for one strawberry? Yes, sir. The baby's been kicking all morning and I just thought, the baby. Alexander's voice cracked. You're pregnant. I stared at him. I'd been visibly pregnant for months. How could he not know? Yes, sir. 8 months. Alexander stumbled backward. The vendor caught his arm. Sir, are you feeling well? Should I call someone? I'm fine, Alexander said. But he clearly wasn't. He looked at me. Really looked at me. For the first time in 5 years. What's your name? Claire, sir. Claire Nova. I've worked for you for 5 years. 5 years, Alexander repeated. His voice was hollow. And I never knew your name. You never asked, sir? Something broke in Alexander's expression. He looked around the market. At the expensive foods. The wealthy shoppers. The luxury everywhere. Then back at me. Pregnant. Carrying his bags. Unable to afford a single strawberry. Buy her the strawberries, Alexander said to the vendor. His voice was sharp. Commanding. But something underneath it shook. All of them. And anything else she wants. Sir, I only wanted one. I said anything else you want. Alexander's eyes met mine. Please. The please shocked me more than anything. Alexander Kane didn't say please. To anyone. Ever. I pointed to some oranges. Some apples. Basic fruit. Nothing expensive. The vendor packed everything carefully. Alexander paid without looking at the price. Give me the bags, Alexander said to me. Sir? The bags? You're carrying. Give them to me. He took every bag from my hands. All the heavy groceries he'd purchased. Carried them himself. People stared. Whispered. Alexander Kane carrying his own groceries was newsworthy. Alexander Kane carrying them for his pregnant maid was impossible. We rode back to his penthouse in complete silence. Alexander stared out the window. His jaw clenched. His hands gripping the bags until his knuckles turned white. When we arrived, he didn't go to his office like usual. Instead, he followed me to the kitchen. Watched as I unpacked everything. Sit down, he said. Sir? Sit down. His voice left no room for argument. I sat at the small kitchen table where staff ate lunch. Alexander sat across from me. It felt wrong. Uncomfortable. Masters didn't sit with servants in his world. How long have you been pregnant? He asked. 8 months, sir. And you've been working the entire time? I need the money. For when the baby comes. The father? Gone. The day I told him. Alexander's expression darkened. Your family? Don't have any. It's just me and the baby. And you can't afford strawberries. It wasn't a question. No, sir. I can barely afford rent. But I'm saving. Every penny. For diapers and bottles and... Stop. Alexander stood abruptly. Started pacing. 5 years. You've worked for me for 5 years, and I never noticed you were pregnant. Never asked your name. Never saw you. You're a busy man, sir. That's not an excuse. Alexander's voice was harsh. Angry. But not at me. At himself. I've built an empire. Made billions. Destroyed anyone who got in my way. And I couldn't even see the woman cleaning my house was pregnant. He stopped pacing. Looked at me directly. My mother was a maid. Did you know that? I shook my head. She worked for a wealthy family. Got pregnant by their son. He denied everything. His family fired her. Threw her out with nothing. Alexander's hands clenched into fists. She tried to work while pregnant. Tried to survive. But nobody would hire a pregnant woman with no references. No family. No support. What happened to her? I asked quietly. She died. Giving birth. Alone in a charity hospital. I was raised in foster care. Alexander's voice broke. I spent my whole life promising I'd never be like that family. Never be the kind of person who looked at struggling people and saw nothing. He looked at me with tears in his eyes. And I became exactly that. Worse maybe, because at least they noticed my mother enough to fire her. I didn't even notice you existed. Silence filled the kitchen. Heavy. Painful. When you asked for that strawberry, Alexander said slowly, it was like hearing my mother's voice. She used to tell me stories. About being pregnant. About craving fruit. About being too poor to afford it. He sat back down. She asked her employer once. For an orange. Just one. They said no. Told her she was getting above her station. She cried all night. My chest tightened. I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked. No. Alexander's voice was firm. You should have asked months ago. Should have demanded better pay. Better treatment. Better everything. He pulled out his phone. Started typing rapidly. What are you doing, sir? Fixing my mistakes. Within 10 minutes, his lawyer arrived. A sharp woman named Ms. Lancaster. She carried a briefcase and looked confused about why she'd been summoned on a Saturday. Ms. Lancaster, this is Claire Novak. She's worked for me for 5 years. I need you to draw up new employment contracts immediately. Alexander's voice was all business now. New salary. $60,000 per year. Full health insurance including pregnancy and delivery costs. Paid maternity leave. 6 months. And back pay for the difference between what I paid her and what I should have been paying her. Mr. Kane, that's extremely generous, Ms. Lancaster said carefully. It's barely adequate, Alexander corrected. Add a housing allowance. She shouldn't be worrying about rent while pregnant. Sir, I can't accept, I started. Yes, you can. You will. Alexander's tone left no argument. And set up a trust fund for her child. $50,000. For education, healthcare, whatever they need. Ms. Lancaster took notes rapidly. Anything else? Yes. Review all my household staff contracts. If anyone else has been working for less than a living wage, fix it immediately. I don't care what it costs. After Ms. Lancaster left to prepare the paperwork, Alexander and I sat in silence again. Why are you doing this? I asked. Because I saw you today. Really saw you. And I was ashamed. Of what? Of becoming the person I swore I'd never be. Alexander stood, walked to the window. My mother died believing the world was cruel. That rich people would never care about people like her. I'm not letting that be true. Not in my house. Not anymore. He turned back. I can't change the past. Can't bring my mother back. But maybe I can make sure what happened to her doesn't happen to you. The next few weeks were strange. Alexander changed overnight. He asked my name every morning. Asked how I felt. How the baby was doing. He reduced my work hours. Hired additional staff so I wouldn't strain myself. He drove me to doctor appointments. Sat in the waiting room. Asked questions about the baby's development. You don't have to do this, I said after one appointment. I know. Then why? Alexander was quiet as we drove. Because I'm trying to be the person my mother believed existed. Someone who cares. Someone who sees people. She would be proud of you. No. Alexander's voice was firm. She'd be proud of me if I'd been this person all along. Right now, I'm just trying to catch up. But other people noticed the changes. Alexander's business partners. His friends. His enemies. You're going soft, Kane, one partner said during a meeting I overheard. Caring about a pregnant maid? What's next? Donating to charity? Yes, actually, Alexander replied calmly. I've established a foundation. For pregnant women who need support. Medical care. Housing. Job training. Everything my mother needed and never got. The business world was shocked. Alexander Kane, known for ruthlessness, was becoming kind. His competitors didn't know what to make of it. Some thought it was a strategy. Others thought he was having a breakdown. Let them think what they want, Alexander told me. I spent 30 years building a reputation for being heartless. Might as well spend the next 30 proving I'm not. But not everyone was happy about the changes. One evening, Alexander's business partner, a man named William Frost, came to the penthouse. I was leaving for the day when I heard them arguing. You're destroying everything we built, William shouted. We built this company on being tougher than everyone else. More ruthless. More willing to do whatever it takes. And look where that got us, Alexander replied. Billions of dollars and no soul. This is about that maid, isn't it? The pregnant one. William's voice was cruel. You're throwing away your empire for some random woman? Her name is Claire. And I'm not throwing anything away. I'm finally building something worth keeping. The board won't stand for this. Your soft new policies are costing us money. Then let them vote me out. Some things matter more than money. I heard footsteps. Started to leave before they saw me eavesdropping. But William appeared in the hallway. Blocked my path. There she is. The woman who destroyed Alexander Kane. His eyes were cold. Calculating. I didn't do anything, I said quietly. You made him weak. Sentimental. That's worse than doing something. William stepped closer. You know what happens to people who make powerful men weak? They disappear. Fear shot through me. I protected my stomach with both hands. William, that's enough. Alexander's voice cut through the hallway like ice. She's under my protection. If anything happens to her, if she even gets a paper cut, I'll know it was you. And I'll destroy you so completely, bankruptcy will seem like a gift. William laughed. You're threatening me? Over a maid? No. I'm promising you. Touch her, and you'll learn exactly how ruthless I can still be when it matters. The two men stared at each other. Finally, William left, slamming the door hard enough to shake the walls. Alexander turned to me. Pack your things. You're not safe here anymore. What? Where am I going? Panic filled my voice. Somewhere secure. I have a property upstate. Fully staffed. Protected. You'll stay there until the baby's born. But my apartment, my things, already being moved. I sent a team this morning. Alexander's expression was serious. William's dangerous. He sees you as a threat to his power. I won't risk your safety or the baby's. This is insane. I'm just a maid. No. Alexander's voice was firm. You're the person who reminded me what it means to be human. And I protect people I care about. Within hours, I was in a car heading north. The property was beautiful. A large house surrounded by woods. Security guards. A full staff. A nursery already set up for the baby. Mr. Kane arranged everything. The housekeeper, a kind older woman named Mrs. Perry, explained. He wants you comfortable. Anything you need, just ask. That night, Alexander called. Are you settled? This is too much. It's barely enough. He paused. Claire, I need to tell you something. William's planning to force a board vote. To remove me as CEO. Because of me? Because I changed. And change threatens people who profit from cruelty. The next 2 weeks were tense. Alexander fought for control of his company. William gathered allies. The board prepared to vote. Through it all, Alexander visited me every evening. We'd talk about everything. His childhood. His mother. His regrets. I built this empire on anger, he told me one night. Anger at the family who destroyed my mother. Anger at a world that let her die alone. I thought success would heal that anger. Did it? No. It just gave me more ways to hurt people the way my mother was hurt. Alexander looked at me. Until you asked for a strawberry. Such a small thing. But it cracked something open inside me. What? The part of me that still remembered being human. The board vote was scheduled for Friday. Alexander was confident he'd win. But Wednesday night, everything changed. William held a press conference. He revealed Alexander's wasteful new policies. The money spent on the foundation. The improved staff salaries. The special treatment of one pregnant maid. Alexander Kane has lost his mind, William told reporters. He's bankrupting the company for sentimental nonsense. The board has no choice but to remove him. The news exploded. Every outlet picked up the story. Billionaire CEO goes soft. Kane's kindness costs millions. Pregnant maid destroys tech empire. I watched it all from the safe house. Horrified. This is my fault, I told Alexander on the phone. No. His voice was calm. This is William showing his true colors. And it's perfect. Perfect? You're losing everything. Am I? Alexander sounded almost amused. William made a mistake. He gave me exactly what I needed. I don't understand. Watch tomorrow's news conference. Trust me. The next morning, Alexander called his own press conference. I watched it live on television. He stood at a podium. Confident. Behind him was a presentation screen. William Frost is right about one thing, Alexander began. I have changed. 6 weeks ago, I was a man who couldn't see his own staff. Who valued money over humanity. Who had become exactly the kind of person I swore I'd never be. He clicked a button. The screen showed a photo. A young woman in a maid's uniform. Pregnant. Smiling despite obvious poverty. This is my mother. 30 years ago, she died giving birth to me. Alone. Abandoned by the wealthy family she worked for. The room went silent. Cameras flashed. Alexander continued. I spent 3 decades building an empire to prove I was better than the people who destroyed her. But I was wrong. Being rich didn't make me better. It made me worse. Another click. A photo of me appeared. 8 months pregnant. Carrying grocery bags. This is Claire Novak. She's worked for me for 5 years. I never knew her name. Never noticed she was pregnant. Never saw her struggling. Alexander's voice grew stronger. 6 weeks ago, she asked me for a strawberry. One piece of fruit. And in that moment, I realized I'd become the exact person who killed my mother. Someone so blind to other people's suffering that I couldn't even see it happening in my own home. Another click. Financial documents appeared. William says my new policies are wasteful. Let me show you what we're actually spending. The numbers were detailed. Employee wage increases cost us 0.03% of annual revenue. The foundation costs 0.05%. Total, wasteful, spending? Less than 0.1% of our profits. Meanwhile, Alexander continued, William Frost has been embezzling money for 3 years. $20 million. I have proof. The room erupted. Reporters shouted questions. Cameras zoomed in on William in the audience. His face went white. Alexander remained calm. I've filed criminal charges. Turned over all evidence to authorities. William will be arrested within the hour. He looked directly at the camera. But this isn't about William. It's about what kind of company we want to be. What kind of world we want to build. My mother died because no one cared. Because profit mattered more than people. I won't run a company that operates that way. Not anymore. So tomorrow, the board will vote. If they want a CEO who values humanity alongside profits, who sees employees as people instead of expenses, who believes success means lifting others up instead of stepping on them, I'll stay. If they want the old Alexander Kane, the ruthless man who couldn't even see his own staff, then I'll resign. Because I'd rather lose my empire than lose myself again. Alexander left the podium. The press conference ended. Within an hour, William was arrested. The evidence was overwhelming. Embezzlement. Money laundering. The board held an emergency meeting. The vote was unanimous. Alexander stayed as CEO. That evening, Alexander came to the safe house. He looked exhausted. Relieved. You won, I said. We won. He sat down heavily. William's going to prison. The company's stock actually went up after my speech. Turns out investors like CEOs with integrity. I still can't believe all this started because I asked for a strawberry. No. Alexander looked at me seriously. It started because you had the courage to ask. To believe you deserved even one small thing. That courage saved both of us. We sat in comfortable silence for a while. What happens now? I asked. Now we keep building. The foundation. The company. A better way of doing business. Alexander paused. And now you prepare for the baby. Speaking of which, I have something for you. He handed me an envelope. Inside was a deed. To the safe house. It's yours. Free and clear. You and the baby will always have a home. Alexander, I can't. Yes, you can. You already changed my life. Let me help change yours. Tears filled my eyes. Why do you care so much? Because you asked for a strawberry. And in doing so, you asked me to be better. To see people. To remember my mother wouldn't want her death to create another monster. 2 weeks later, my water broke. It was 3 in the morning. Mrs. Perry called Alexander immediately. He arrived within an hour. Stayed with me through everything. The labor was long. Difficult. 18 hours of pain and fear. But when I finally held my daughter, everything else disappeared. She was perfect. Tiny. Beautiful. What's her name? Alexander asked softly. I looked at this man. This ruthless billionaire who'd become my closest friend. Who'd changed his entire life because of one small request. Hope, I said. Her name is Hope Kane Novak. Alexander's eyes filled with tears. Kane. You're her godfather. If you'll accept. I'd be honored. He touched Hope's tiny hand. She grabbed his finger. Held tight. Thank you, Alexander whispered. For what? For asking for that strawberry. For being brave enough to believe you deserved something good. For saving me from becoming a monster. You were never a monster. Just lost. And you helped me find my way back. The next 5 years changed everything. Alexander transformed his company completely. Fair wages. Ethical practices. Environmental responsibility. The foundation grew. Helped thousands of pregnant women. Provided medical care. Housing. Job training. Everything his mother never got. Alexander became famous for it. Not for ruthlessness anymore. For compassion. The media loves the transformation story, his publicist told him. Former Ruthless finds humanity. It's perfect. It's not a story, Alexander replied. It's who I actually am now. Hope grew strong. Curious. Alexander was there for everything. First steps. First words. First day of school. Uncle Alexander became her favorite person. One day when Hope was 5, we were at the park. She was playing on the swings. Alexander sat beside me on the bench. Do you ever regret it? I asked. Changing everything? Losing the old version of yourself? Alexander watched Hope laugh as she swung higher. Every single day I thank God you asked for that strawberry. Because the old version of me would have missed all this. He gestured at Hope. At the life we'd built. I had billions. Power. Fear. But I was empty. And now I have purpose. Family. That's worth more than any empire. But not everyone was happy about Alexander's transformation. Some of his old business associates felt betrayed. One of them, a man named Gerald Price, decided to strike back. He started spreading rumors. Claiming Alexander's relationship with me was inappropriate. That Hope was actually his biological daughter. That the whole transformation was a cover for a scandal. The rumors grew. Tabloids picked them up. Billionaire's secret love child? CEO's hidden family? The real story behind Alexander Kane's change? Alexander wanted to sue. To fight back with everything he had. Let me destroy them, he said. Every publication spreading these lies. I'll bankrupt them all. No, I said firmly. Why not? They're lying about you. About Hope. About us. Because fighting them proves we have something to hide. Ignoring them proves we don't. But people believe this garbage. People who matter know the truth. I touched his arm. Your mother died surrounded by lies and rumors. Don't let her son become someone who fights gossip with more cruelty. Alexander closed his eyes. Took a deep breath. You're right. As always. Instead of suing, Alexander invited reporters to the foundation. Showed them the work being done. Introduced them to families who'd been helped. Told his mother's story publicly. Explained exactly why my request for a strawberry changed everything. The truth was more compelling than the rumors. The gossip died down. But Gerald wasn't finished. One evening as I was leaving the foundation office, a car pulled up. Gerald stepped out. Claire Novak. We need to talk. I have nothing to say to you. Then listen. Gerald blocked my path. Alexander's soft new policies are destroying shareholder value. Real investors want the old Kane back. Ruthless. Profitable. Then they can sell their shares. Or we can remove the problem. Gerald's eyes were cold. You're the reason he changed. Remove you, and he'll go back to normal. Fear gripped me. Are you threatening me? I'm explaining reality. Alexander Kane was a titan. Now he's a joke. And you did that. No. I helped him become human. Same thing. Gerald stepped closer. Leave. Take your daughter. Disappear. I'll make it worth your while. $5 million. I'm not leaving. Then you're forcing my hand. Gerald pulled out his phone. Showed me photos. At school. At the park. Playing. Beautiful child. Would be a shame if something happened. My blood turned to ice. If you touch my daughter, then take the money. Disappear. Or find out what happens when you stand between powerful men and their profits. I called Alexander immediately. He listened to everything. His voice grew colder with each word. Where are you? Still at the foundation. Stay there. I'm coming. Security's already on the way to Hope's school. 20 minutes later, Alexander arrived. His expression was terrifying. The ruthless billionaire was back. But this time, fighting for something that mattered. Where's Gerald? He left. Said I have 24 hours to decide. He won't get 24 minutes. Alexander made one phone call. Within an hour, federal agents arrived. Alexander had been recording everything. Gerald's embezzlement. His threats. His attempts to manipulate stock prices. I've been investigating him for months, Alexander explained. Waiting for him to make a mistake. Threatening you was that mistake. You used me as bait? No. I used myself. Gerald couldn't resist trying to eliminate what he saw as my weakness. He was wrong. You're not my weakness. You're my strength. Gerald was arrested. Charged with extortion. Threatening a minor. Securities fraud. But more importantly, the investigation uncovered a network. 6 other executives. All trying to manipulate Alexander. All wanting the old, ruthless Kane back. All going to prison now. This is the last time, Alexander said that night. We sat in his office. Hope asleep on the couch nearby. The last time someone threatens you. The last time someone tries to use my past against my future. You can't control everyone. No. But I can be clear about who I am now. What I value. Who I protect. Alexander looked at Hope. I spent 30 years being ruthless to honor my mother's memory. Turns out the best way to honor her is being kind. She'd be proud of you. I hope so. He smiled. Because I'm proud of myself for the first time in my life. Not for building an empire. For building a family. Over the next year, Alexander restructured everything. Sold off parts of the company that didn't align with his values. Invested heavily in the foundation. Became a completely different kind of businessman. The results surprised everyone. Profits increased. Employee retention soared. Innovation exploded. Turns out, Alexander told a business conference, treating people with dignity is actually good for business. Who knew? The audience laughed. But Alexander was serious. My mother died because people valued profit over humanity. I built an empire on that same principle. And it nearly destroyed me. One person changed everything. A pregnant woman who asked for a strawberry. Such a small request. But it reminded me what actually matters. 10 years after that day in the market, I stood in Alexander's office. Hope was 15 now. Smart. Confident. She wanted to join the foundation. Help other families like ours. She's so much like you, Alexander said. Brave. Compassionate. Willing to ask for what she needs. She's like both of us. Your determination. My stubbornness. We laughed. Outside the window, the city sparkled. Alexander's company had become the most ethical business in the industry. The foundation had helped over 50,000 families. All because of one strawberry. Do you remember what you were thinking? I asked. That day in the market? When I asked, Alexander smiled. I remember everything. The way you said, please. The way your hand protected your stomach. The way you looked like my mother in that photograph. What made you help me instead of firing me? Fear. Not of you. Of myself. I saw who I'd become. Someone who couldn't even see a pregnant woman standing right in front of him. Someone my mother would have hated. He turned to face me. You asked for one strawberry. But what you really asked for was to be seen. To matter. To be human. And you said yes. Best decision of my life. Hope came running in. Uncle Alexander. The new shelter is opening. They want us to cut the ribbon. Lead the way, Alexander said. As we walked out together, family in every way that mattered, I thought about that day. One request. One piece of fruit. One moment of courage that changed everything. Because sometimes the smallest requests carry the biggest truths. Sometimes asking for help is the bravest thing you can do. And sometimes the most ruthless people are just waiting for permission to be kind. The end. If this story moved you, subscribe to this channel. Share it with someone who needs to remember their voice matters. Because everyone deserves to be seen. Everyone deserves to ask for what they need. And sometimes, one small request can change the entire world. Your support helps spread stories of courage, transformation, and the power of being brave enough to ask.